Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm a wellbeing practitioner at Creative Youth Network, and today we're going to have a little bit of a chat about sleep. So, there might be quite a few of you that are really struggling with sleep at the moment. It's really common that when we're feeling stressed or feeling anxious or worried about something, that we do have more difficulties with sleep. And unfortunately, it's not a one size fits all, so there's not kind of a remedy that will work for everyone, but there are some things that you can do to sort of try and improve your sleep. So I guess it's first thinking about things like your caffeine intake. So generally, we want to kind of stop drinking caffeine anytime kind of before lunchtime. So we don't want to be drinking caffeine or energy drinks or kind of having that's the same as sugar consumption as well. So we don't want to be having that into the afternoon and late in the evening, and that's because it's a stimulant, so it can keep us awake. We also want to be thinking about things like, are we eating our dinner too late? So, for example, if we have a big dinner at like 8, 9 o'clock and then we try and get into bed an hour later, chances are that kind of our stomach's still processing dinner and we're going to find it quite difficult to fall asleep. Some things that really help is doing exercise during the day. So I know obviously at the moment we're self isolating, but if you can, trying to get out and do a walk or a run, or maybe even doing some exercise at home can be really, really helpful. So thinking about those things as well. And then thinking about kind of our evening routine. So generally, if we try and stick to kind of the same time every night going to bed, that can be really helpful. So say we have a set time of maybe 11 p.m. And then if we try and focus on maybe eating at 7 p.m. and then maybe we could watch an hour of TV after dinner, and then thinking about kind of winding down for the evening. So generally, hour before bed, we want to be trying to not use any technology, so not on our laptops or TVs or on our phone. So trying listening to music or maybe trying kind of reading, and maybe as well focusing on the lighting that we have in our room, so we don't want anything too bright. We're kind of trying to reduce kind of stimulation and kind of get ourselves ready for bed. So thinking about that kind of things as well. Also, it's important that we kind of sleep in a room that's dark, so we don't have any lights on. Thinking about the temperature, so sometimes if it's too hot in the room, we can kind of struggle to fall asleep. So there's all of those things that kind of may factor into kind of why we're getting bad sleep. But if you feel like you're already doing all of those things, and you've got that kind of routine and you're winding down and kind of things are going still difficult for you, then it might be worth thinking about what is it that's kind of keeping me awake. So a lot of the time, when we are kind of struggling to go to sleep, we may be laying in bed, tossing and turning, and that's when our mind can be quite overactive. We might be thinking about things that we're worried about the next day. We might be thinking about things from our current day. So sometimes, if you're finding that your mind's quite overactive, it might be worth a couple of hours before bedtime dedicating sort of 10 minutes and sitting down and writing down anything that's going on for you. So maybe kind of sitting and taking a deep breath and tuning in and kind of saying, right, what's going on for me right now? What have I been worried about recently? So we can try kind of writing down those things, and then maybe plotting in some kind of self care or some mindfulness afterwards as a way of kind of breaking up, so we don't let the kind of worries that we're thinking about go later into our evening so we can't sleep. So that can be a way of kind of really helping us to kind of write things down and get them out of our heads and onto paper. But if that technique's still not working for you, another thing that is really helpful, and often we all can do this, is thinking about our reaction towards sleep. So let's say you've had a couple of nights, or maybe it's been a couple of weeks or a couple of months of bad sleep, and just noticing what your reaction is to it. So, for example, if you have a really bad night's sleep, you might say to yourself, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Why can't I sleep? This is so annoying. And thinking about a reaction like that, and then let's compare it to maybe a reaction like, okay, so at the moment I can't sleep. That's all right. I'm just going to relax and do some breathing exercises, and do maybe some mindfulness, and then I'll just see what happens. So I guess the difference between the two is one being quite a negative reaction, and one being quite a sort of neutral reaction. And often, if we are sleeping badly, we have quite a negative response to it, which only kind of feeds into the vicious cycle of us having more difficult sleep. Whereas if we start neutralizing our reaction and saying, okay, it's not the worst thing, and I know that kind of I can still function on not much sleep, we start thinking more like that, then actually that can really help us. So thinking about your response as well, towards sleep can be really helpful. And maybe writing down some things that can help us, like saying, I know that my sleep's not great at the moment, but I know that it's going to get better, or I know that I'm still looking after myself. Um, so have a little think about that. As I said kind of before, it's not one size fits all, so it's quite difficult to inform you on what's the right fit for you. So maybe just thinking about what's best for you and trying these different techniques. And I guess the final thing is, if you've tried all of that and that's still not helpful, there's some really good techniques that you can try to kind of help when you're lying in bed to help you switch off. So one of which is called progressive muscle relaxation. So if you type that into YouTube, there's some really good techniques under there, some videos that you can try. Basically, progressive muscle relaxation is when we go through different muscle groups in our body and we tense them, and we kind of hold that tension for a couple of seconds and then we release. And what that does is that relaxes our body, and then it can quieten down our mind as well. So that might be something worth looking into. Other than that, if you're still kind of really struggling with sleep, then maybe think about talking to your GP, or kind of maybe think about reading some more information online. All right, well, I hope that helps. Take care. Bye.